you ever been in a situation at work where you were just shocked at how rude your coworker was being? Or maybe there's a whole group of people you just hate working with because they are so rude. Hello, everyone. I'm Cecilia, your guide and the heart behind Culture Confidence with Cecilia. With years of experience in cross-cultural integration, I'm here to help you understand and navigate these cultural nuances. And yes, today's topic is about politeness and rudeness as cultural constructs and how you can navigate these differences in a professional setting. Every culture has its own set of social norms and rules of etiquette that shape how individuals interact with one another. These norms dictate what is considered polite or rude within a specific cultural context. For example, while it's polite to make direct eye contact in the US, it might be considered rude in some Asian countries. It would not be polite to interject with your opinions and ideas unless asked in some Asian cultures, whereas in the US, not doing so would keep you from being promoted. When looking at cultural ideas about what's polite and rude, we have many considerations. Is this a high context culture or low context? Are people more direct or indirect? Is the business structure based on a hierarchy or is equality valued? Is formal communication important or informal communication? Let's start with talking about high context and low context. In high context cultures, such as found in Japan or China, much of the communication is implicit. This means it relies heavily on nonverbal cues and the context of the conversation. Within the culture, there is a shared context, so people kind of understand and they know. So politeness often involves being attentive to subtle gestures and the unspoken rules. For example, let's think about Japan. It's polite to avoid saying no directly. Instead, you should offer a less direct refusal so you can maintain harmony among parties. Imagine that you are requesting some time off and your manager, instead of telling you no, gives you all the reasons you should stay. Depending on your context, that would be perfectly acceptable or a little bit rude and disrespectful. On the other hand, in low context cultures such as the United States or Germany, communication is explicit, and people are more likely to give their opinions openly without using any vague language when asked. Now, let's talk about direct communication and indirect communication. This is very similar to high context and low context, but there's some subtle differences. In indirect communication, it's really more dependent on context and reading between the lines. In direct communication, there's nothing really left unsaid, and all the details are there. There's nothing else to understand beyond what is given in the words. For instance, in the US, direct feedback is often appreciated for its clarity. However, in many Asian cultures, feedback is given more subtly to avoid causing anyone a sense of embarrassment or losing face. A colleague from direct communication culture might say, "I disagree with your approach." Very direct. In contrast, someone from an indirect communication culture might say, "Maybe we consider other options," which can be interpreted as a polite disagreement. Bear in mind, both of these examples can be used depending on your company's culture. Business structures also influence what is considered polite or rude. In hierarchical cultures, such as in many parts of Asia, showing respect to superiors is very important. This often involves using formal titles and deferring to senior staff in decision-making. Conversely, in egalitarian cultures like found in Sweden or Australia, colleagues may address each other by first name regardless of rank, and decision-making is more collaborative. Now, let's imagine you're in a hierarchical culture. If you go and interrupt a senior colleague, it might be seen as highly disrespectful. However, in an egalitarian culture, interjecting with an idea during a meeting can be a sign of enthusiasm or collaboration. Let's move on now to formal and informal communication. Again, you're going to see some overlaps in these descriptions. In formal communication cultures, you're going to adhere to strict protocols of etiquette. Some cultures value formal communication, adhering strictly to protocols and etiquette. Others prefer a more informal approach, where interactions are more relaxed and casual. For example, in Germany, professional interactions often follow strict formalities, using titles and last names. In contrast, in the United States, even high-level executives might prefer a first-name basis and a more relaxed communication style. This can be fascinating to think about when you remember that Germany and the US are both more direct and low-context styles of communication. Again, reminding us why it's important to note differences in cultural perceptions of polite and rude behavior. Let's delve into a bit of a specific example. Imagine an email to a senior manager. In a formal culture, you might write, "Dear Dr. Smith, I am writing to request your approval for," and you're going to use formal language throughout the email. In a more informal culture, it might be perfectly acceptable to start with, "Hi, John," and use a friendly tone such as, "Just wanted to check in about." Navigating these cultural differences requires sensitivity and adaptability. Just like I've explained in other videos, it's important to, first, observe and learn. Pay attention to how your colleagues interact. Observe their body language, the formality of their speech, and how they handle disagreements. 2, ask clarifying questions. Don't be afraid to ask these questions. If you're unsure about a particular behavior or response, ask for clarification. This shows your willingness to understand and respect differing cultural norms. 3, be willing to adapt your communication style. Try to match the communication style of your colleagues. If they are more indirect, practice phrasing your feedback or suggestions in a way that aligns with their cultural norms. 4, build cultural awareness. Invest time in learning about the cultural backgrounds of your colleagues, of the country that you're working with. This knowledge can help you anticipate potential misunderstandings and navigate interactions more smoothly. As we navigate the complexities of cultural politeness, let's remember that our differences are what make our world rich and vibrant. By embracing diversity and striving for mutual respect, we can foster harmony and understanding across cultures. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay confident and communicate with impact.